Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial as reported by Inner City Press. The courtroom had grown accustomed to shocking revelations after 3 weeks of trial. But when Julius DeBur, Beyoncé's longtime former private bodyguard, was called to the witness stand, the tension rose again. DeBur, with his towering frame and composed demeanor, moved forward in a perfectly tailored black suit. His eyes scanned the room, a professional habit of assessing all potential dangers, before pausing briefly when he spotted Diddy. "I didn't want to be here," DeBur said, as soon as he sat down, his voice carrying a slight Dutch accent. "I signed a confidentiality agreement with Beyoncé's management company, and I respect the privacy of those I protect. But when subpoenaed, I also respect the law." Prosecutor Alicia Reynolds nodded. "We appreciate your cooperation, Mr. DeBeer. How long did you work as a private security detail for Beyoncé Knowles Carter?" "From 2008 to 2021, 13 years in total," he replied. "And during that time, did you encounter the defendant, Sean Combs?" "On numerous occasions," DeBeer confirmed. "At industry events, award ceremonies, brand parties, and some social gatherings." "Could you describe to the court the nature of the work you did for Beyoncé?" DeBeer sat up straight. "My job was to ensure my client's safety in all aspects. That included assessing physical threats, crowd control, securing exit routes, but also evaluating situations for potential social or personal risk." "Social risk, could you elaborate on that?" "In celebrity environments, not all threats are violent in nature. Sometimes it can be situations that are detrimental to public image encounters that could be misinterpreted or manipulated, or environments that are dangerous in ways that aren't immediately obvious." The prosecutor nodded, moving closer to the witness stand. "Mr. DeBeer, did you ever receive specific instructions regarding Sean Diddy Combs?" The entire courtroom seemed to hold its breath in anticipation. DeBeer looked down at his intertwined hands for a moment, then raised his head. "Yes. I was explicitly instructed by Jay-Z that Beyoncé was never to be alone with Mr. Combs, and specifically never to enter private rooms or secluded areas at any events hosted by him." A small murmur spread across the courtroom. Diddy, who until this point had maintained a composed face, suddenly tightened his grip on the table. "Do you recall when you received those instructions?" "The first time was in 2009 before a post-MTV Video Music Awards party. Jay-Z called me into his private hotel suite without Beyoncé present. He said, 'Julius, I know you always do your job well, but tonight I need you especially vigilant. Don't let B go anywhere alone, especially near Diddy. No exceptions.'" I'd been a bodyguard long enough to know when an instruction wasn't just routine. "And what did you do with that instruction?" "I took it seriously. When we arrived at the party, I always remained within eyesight of Beyoncé. When Mr. Combs approached her, I immediately moved closer. When he suggested she tour the rest of the venue, where the party was being held, I smoothly intervened and suggested it was time we moved on to the next event." Prosecutor Reynolds nodded. "Did you know why Jay-Z gave that specific instruction?" "At the time, I didn't ask. That wasn't my place. My job was to follow instructions, not question them." DeBeer paused. But later, about a year after following another event where Mr. Combs was present, Jay-Z said a bit more. "Can you share that conversation?" "We had just left a charity gala in New York. In the car, Jay-Z asked me if Mr. Combs had approached Beyoncé. I said he had tried to lead her away to see some artwork in a private room, but I had intervened." Jay-Z looked out the window for a moment, then said, "Julius, I've seen what happens in those rooms, and my wife will never experience that." Diddy maintained his expressionless face, but his eyes grew colder. His defense attorney scribbled notes rapidly. "Can you share a specific example of a time when you had to implement that instruction?" DeBeer nodded. "The 2012 Grammys. After the awards ceremony, there was a major party at a Beverly Hills mansion co-hosted by Mr. Combs. Beyoncé and Jay-Z planned to make only a brief appearance. When we arrived, I noted that while the main floor of the party was fairly normal, crowded music celebrities mingling, there were staircases leading to upper and lower floors, both with security controlling access." DeBeer continued. "About an hour after we arrived, while Jay-Z was speaking with a record executive, Mr. Combs approached Beyoncé. I stood about 6 feet away as usual. I heard him say, "B, I need to show you something. A project I'm working on that only a select few have seen. I need your opinion." He suggested going downstairs to what he described as a private screening room. How did Beyoncé respond? She was polite as always, but I could see the hesitation. She said something about needing to check with Jay first. That's when I moved closer and tactfully reminded her about the schedule. Mr. Combs wasn't pleased. He said, "Come on, man, just a few minutes. She'll be right back." But I held my ground. By then, Jay-Z had noticed the situation and came over. Wait, what did Jay-Z say? He was friendly but firm. He said, "Puff, and we gotta head out now. There's an issue with the babysitter at home." It was a lie. Their daughter was actually with Beyoncé's mother that night, but it was a polite way to exit. How did Mr. Combs react? He looked disappointed isn't quite the right word. More agitated. He insisted, "This is really something B needs to see for her new project." Jay-Z remained friendly but firm. They left about 10 minutes later. In the car, Beyoncé asked why they had to leave early, and Jay-Z just said, "Not all opportunities are worth pursuing." Prosecutor Reynolds nodded. "Did you ever see anything specifically suspicious at Mr. Combs' events?" "I've been a bodyguard for over 2 decades, DeBurr replied. "I've worked for stars, politicians, and executives. I know the difference between security and surveillance." At Mr. Combs' events, security seemed not just about keeping outsiders out, it was about keeping insiders where Mr. Combs wanted them. Phones were confiscated, rooms were marked as private or VIP only, and there were always young women, very young women, being escorted into these rooms while others were denied entry. Did you ever witness Beyoncé being suggested to participate in any inappropriate activities? Not directly, but in 2014 at a post-Oscar event, Mr. Combs pulled both Beyoncé and Jay-Z aside and said something I didn't fully hear about a private party for the most special people at another mansion. Jay-Z declined immediately, almost cutting Mr. Combs off. Beyoncé looked confused, but Jay-Z said something like, "We're too old for those kinds of parties, man." In the car home, the atmosphere was tense. I'd never seen Jay-Z that angry. The courtroom was completely silent. Diddy whispered something to his attorney, who shook his head and continued writing. "Mr. DeBoer, throughout your time working for Beyoncé, did the instructions about keeping her away from Mr. Combs' private rooms ever change?" "No. If anything, they became stricter over time. After 2016, we received guidance that Beyoncé shouldn't even be in the same room as Mr. Combs without Jay-Z, or at least 2 other team members present. I remember this because it was quite unusual. Most artists don't have such specific restrictions on their social interactions." "Do you know what prompted the tightening of these regulations?" DeBoer shook his head. "I wasn't provided specific details, but I remember a conversation with Jay-Z after a Grammy event around that time. Mr. Combs had hosted an after-party. He had personally called Jay-Z to invite them. Jay declined. After the call, he looked concerned. He told me, "Julius, make sure we go straight home tonight. No stops anywhere." It was one of the rare times I saw Jay-Z genuinely worried about something. Prosecutor Reynolds nodded and shifted to a new topic. "Mr. DeBeer, in your years working with artists, have you ever seen a similar pattern of isolating female artists from specific situations?" "Not to this level. This wasn't like normal security directives. The issue wasn't overzealous fans or paparazzi. This was about keeping Beyoncé away from a specific person and the specific situations that person created, even within an environment full of celebrities and security." From your professional standpoint, can you explain why this is notable? "In my line of work, we assess threats based on both probability and consequence. The level of concern Jay-Z exhibited and the frequency with which he emphasized it suggests he believed both the probability and consequences of allowing Beyoncé near Mr. Combs were very serious." As the initial examination concluded, defense attorney Matthew Goldstein approached the witness stand. With his expensive suit and slow, calculated voice, he represented one of Diddy's most expensive law firms. "Mr. DeBeer," he began, "to clarify, you never directly witnessed my client engage in any inappropriate behavior toward Beyoncé Knowles Carter, correct?" "That's correct," DeBeer responded. "And everything you're testifying to today is based on instruction from Jay-Z, not on your personal observation of any misconduct. Correct. I observed Mr. Combs attempting to lure Beyoncé into private situations we were instructed to avoid. But that luring could simply be one artist wanting to discuss business with another artist, couldn't it? There's nothing suspicious about wanting to discuss a project in a quieter space at a loud party, is there? Technically, that could be true, but in context, Goldstein interrupted. Just answer the question, Mr. DeBoer. Throughout your career, have you ever seen artists discuss business in private rooms at social events? Yes. Thank you. Now you stated that the level of vigilance Jay-Z requested regarding my client was unusual. Are you aware of whether Jay-Z and my client had any business disagreements or personal rivalries? DeBeer considered his answer. I know they sometimes competed in business, but they also collaborated on many projects. Are you aware that Jay-Z and my client had a dispute over a tequila deal in 2014, a deal in which Jay-Z ultimately lost a multi-million-dollar contract? I wasn't privy to specific business details. Mr. DeBeer, you signed a confidentiality agreement with Beyoncé's company, as you mentioned. Are you concerned that testifying today might put you in breach of that agreement? I've been advised by counsel that a court subpoena supersedes an NDA, and you no longer work for Beyoncé since 2021, correct? Might your departure have been related to any disagreements about how you performed your duties? Objection. Prosecutor Reynolds stood up. Misleading and irrelevant. Sustained, the judge said. Goldstein continued. Mr. DeBeer, in your career as a bodyguard to the stars, have you ever heard rumors and stories of sorts about various artists? It's part of the environment, yes. And would it be fair to say that in entertainment rumors can spread that aren't based on fact? That can happen, yes. So isn't it possible that Jay-Z's concerns, if they truly existed, as you describe, could have been based on rumor or personal rivalry, rather than on actual events? DeBeer looked directly at the lawyer. I worked very closely with Jay-Z for over a decade. I never knew him to be someone who acted on rumors. And if it was just personal rivalry, why were the instructions so specific about keeping Beyoncé away from private rooms? Why not simply avoid Mr. Combs altogether? Goldstein changed direction. Mr. DeBoer, to clarify once more, you never witnessed my client engage in any inappropriate behavior toward anyone, male or female, at any event you attended, correct? Technically, no. But the isolation and moving people into restricted areas, along with phone confiscation and required NDAs, are concerning patterns in security work. Thank you. No additional commentary needed. No further questions. As DeBeer left the witness stand, he paused slightly, his eyes meeting Diddy's. No words were exchanged, but the message was clear. Here was a man who had spent his career protecting others from exactly the situations Diddy was accused of creating. Outside the courthouse, the media went wild. Headlines like, Beyoncé's bodyguard reveals Jay-Z kept her away from Diddy, and bombshell testimony, Beyoncé was warned to avoid Diddy, appeared across Twitter and news sites. But inside the courtroom, as DeBeer departed, whispers spread. The truth was that although Beyoncé had never appeared at this trial, her absence suddenly carried tremendous weight. Because if a star as powerful as Beyoncé, surrounded by security, and the protection of people like Jay-Z and Julius DeBeer, still needed to be protected from Diddy, it raised the terrifying question, what had women without such protection systems faced? This wasn't just a story about a bodyguard and the instructions he received. It was a story about power and how it was used or abused in an industry where not everyone had a Julius DeBeer beside them to keep them safe. Disclaimer: the content above is entirely fictional and created for entertainment purposes. No verified court evidence or official statements confirm these claims.